Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, the Abridged version. Chapter 16, The Accusation. I woke up the next morning, still angry with myself and with the monster. I left the cottage and spent the morning walking around like a ghost. I was far away from everything and everyone I loved. I sat on the bench for many hours that day. It was cold. I was cold, wet, and hungry. Nothing could wake me from my walking sleep. Nothing, that is, except a visit from a man who brought me a stack of letters. There were letters from my father and Elizabeth, but I was too sad to open these. There was also a letter from Henry. The sight of his familiar handwriting made me feel a bit better, and I opened the letter. It was full of funny stories about his trip. He told me about how much fun life was in Scotland. He also wrote about how well his plans to travel to India were coming together. He had gotten a letter from a friend in London who wrote that he needed to get back there as soon as possible. Victor, he said in the letter, I have to leave Scotland today. I know we were supposed to meet each other in Edinburgh, but why don't you travel to London instead? There was nothing keeping me in the Orkneys now. There was only the pain and regret of making so many mistakes. There was so much for me to do before I could go home. The first thing I had to do was clean out my last unfinished experiment. I started packing early the next morning. By late afternoon, I had only one thing left to do. I had to pack up my laboratory. I gathered up all of my courage and opened the door. There were bits and pieces of my work spread out everywhere. This was the evidence of my broken promise. First, I cleaned and put away my instruments. Then I took the poor creature outside. I said a quick prayer and buried her behind the cottage. The day had turned to night by the time I was finished. It would have been safer to wait until morning to cross the ocean in my boat, but my mind was made up to leave the island that very day, and so that's what I did. The dark sky was cloudy, and I couldn't see the moon. There was little difference between the ocean and the sky. It was all black. The stars were hidden. For the second time in my life, I was afraid of the dark. I packed my things into the small sailboat and pushed off into the open water. The waves soon rose, and it was hard to sail. The wind blew strongly in the wrong direction. I found myself being carried out to sea. Several hours passed in this way. The more I tried to control the boat, the more it sailed off in the wrong direction. As night turned into day, the wind calmed down. A gentle breeze now hit the sails. I was finally able to turn the boat back on the right course. The boat slowly found its way back to shore. I was happy to see a little town with a good harbor in the distance. I was tying the boat up and taking down the sails when a crowd of people gathered around me. They whispered and pointed, making me uncomfortable. Hello, I said calmly. Would someone please tell me where I am? What's the name of this town? A man with a deep and threatening voice answered, "You will know soon enough. You may have landed somewhere you won't like. You will soon be shown where you'll be staying." I was very confused by his answer. It wasn't like strangers to be so rude. "What's going on?" I asked. "You are a criminal," he replied. "We don't want you here." "What are you talking about? Please, I've been out on the water all night, battling with bad winds. You must have me confused with someone else." "We'll see about that," he said gruffly. "You've got to go to see Mr. Kerwin, the judge. You can tell your story to him." "Why do I need to see a judge? I haven't done anything wrong," I said. "As I said, tell it to him. There was a man found dead here last night. You're the only person we've seen come to town." "Well then, I'm happy to see you, Judge. I'm totally innocent," I said. I followed the man away from my boat and into town. The judge's office was in a lovely house in the center of the village. It didn't take long for us to get there, but the walk was hard. My stomach growled and my throat was dry. The long night on the water had made me tired. I wanted to lie down and go to sleep. With the crowd of angry people all around, I decided that it was best to stay strong and to carry on. Mr. Kerwin was a generous man with good manners. He called the room to order before asking, "Who brings this man before me? What has he done?" The rough man who had brought me there answered, "I do, sir. We think he's the one who did it." The judge asked him to explain. The man said he had been out fishing yesterday with his brother and his son. On the way back from his boat, he had tripped over something. When he bent down to see what it was, he found a young man lying on the beach. They tried to wake him, but he was dead. The man's brother spoke next. He had seen a man in a boat earlier in the day. He swore to the judge that it was the very boat that I sailed to shore. Next, a woman told the judge that she had seen this man push his boat back out to sea right where the poor boy was found. Several other people said that the winds must have brought me right back to shore as I tried to escape. Mr. Kerwin decided that I needed to see the boy. He wanted to see my reaction, if I had any. Knowing I was innocent, I agreed. We walked to a room and he opened the door. I saw my dear friend Henry Clerval lying there as cold as the sea I had crossed. "No!" I wailed. "Henry, oh Henry, not you, too. This is all my fault, my fault." My body could no longer take the pain and I fell to the floor. I spent the next 2 months in a fever. I was so sick that my life was often in danger. When I woke up, I found myself in jail. I had ranted and raved throughout my illness about how I had murdered my brother, poor Justine, in jail, and now killed Henry. I groaned loudly and woke up the nurse sitting beside my bed. "Mr. Frankenstein, you're awake," she said, sounding shocked. I sat quietly. "Yes, I hope this was a bad dream. I am sorry to be awakened in this awful place after everything that's happened. It would have been better if I had died. I must go and tell the judge." She got up and left me alone in my cell. Mr. Kerwin came in shortly after she left. We had a long talk. The judge was both fair and polite to me. He had set up my care while I was in his prison, and had tried to make me more comfortable. He had gone through my things from the boat after I collapsed, and had seen the letters from Henry and my family. He knew I was educated and noble. He also knew I couldn't be guilty, but he couldn't set me free until I was proven innocent. I thanked the judge for his kindness and asked quickly if he had had any word from my family. I needed to know if everyone was okay. Yes, they are fine. They are sad over the death of your best friend. They are also worried about your ill health. They know you are innocent. Now we just have to prove it to the rest of the court. He paused for a moment. There's someone here to see you. My first thought was that the monster was there, and I shouted, "No, I don't want to see him." The judge said harshly, "Young man, I should think the company of your father would be welcome to you under these circumstances." Why the outburst? "My father," I exclaimed. My father, I exclaimed. "My father is here?" "Oh, yes, I would love to see him. I'm sorry, sir. I thought you were talking about someone else." Mr. Corwin was surprised by the change in my tone. "I hope that's the last we see of your favorite young man," he said. In a matter of seconds, my gentle father stood beside me. I stretched out my hand to him and asked, "How are Elizabeth and Ernest?" "They are fine, my son. I am sorry to see that you have had such an awful time. And poor Henry." "I am innocent, father. You must know that." I know. His voice was very soothing. "We found someone from the Orkneys to speak at your hearing. He can say that you were on the island when they found our dear Henry. He landed you a package of letters when you were sitting on the beach." I had spent 3 months in prison by the time my case was heard. The jury believed my witness, and they set me free. My father slapped me on the back. He couldn't hide his happiness. We walked outside, and I took my first breath of free air. "Father," I said, "we must go home right away." He didn't think I was well enough to travel, but I insisted on leaving right away. We left early the next morning. We hired a ship that could take us directly to Geneva. I was very glad to be going back home. I sat on deck with my father and looked out over the sea. Henry was gone. Nothing could bring him back. My thoughts again turned back to the night I created the monster. My life had been destroyed by my work, and nothing could change that now. I quietly accepted my fate.